Hello, I'm JW. This is the final part in looking at this brown book, BS7671 18th edition, Amendment 2 from March 2022. And this time we're just going to have a quick look at the various appendices in the back. Now, a lot of these haven't actually changed from the previous blue book, but there are some revisions and adjustments there, so we'll have a sort of quick browse through those and see what implications those may have. Now, this is the last part in this particular series, and we're going to look at the appendices, or appendixes, if you want to call it that. That's not what it says at the top, but anyway, these are at the back of the book here, and they actually comprise a very substantial chunk of the book. It's around a third of the total number of pages, so although most of these are not actually part of the standard, they're still very useful and should be considered. Now, we can see down the right hand side there, we've got the little marks, which we're all familiar with, to show things that have been changed, and we'll look at some of these in a bit more detail here. In terms of the order of these, nothing has really changed here dramatically, but we'll see that at the bottom here, number 7 has actually been deleted, so it's completely gone away. Warning and instructional use labels we've got in there, and we've also got escape routes and fire protection. Now, number 7, which is deleted, that used to be harmonized cable core colors, so it's just not here anymore. Number 11 previously wasn't used, so that is a new one with the warning and user instruction labels, so certainly have a look there. And number 13 is now escape routes and fire protection. Now, previously that was methods to measure the installation resistance or impedance of floors and walls to the protective conductor system, so that's basically gone away, and we've just put this thing about escape routes and fire protection in instead. 12 is not used, but it wasn't used before either, so nothing different there. And 3, we have already seen this, that's where that table was deleted about the RCD information, the trip times and whatever else. The rest of that is pretty much the same as previous. And then the list of standards to which reference is made, there's a whole pile of changes there, and that's basically just the list of various standards and things. And of course, as those change, so does the list in here. So Appendix 1, which is the British standards to which reference is made, there's a vast list of these, and it goes on for many, many pages, and you see there's lots of amendments in the margins there. Nothing particularly relevant to look through there. There are a lot of changes because obviously where they're referred to and the standards in question, of course, do get renumbered and reissued from time to time, but in terms of looking through it here, nothing really much to see. Appendix 2, which is statutory regulations, again, nothing much to see there. Now, Appendix 3, which is the time and current characteristics of protective devices, as we saw previously, Table 3A has been deleted, and that was the one with the RCD times in and the types of RCDs and the trip times and so on. Again, that's gone away because as we saw in the Part 6 video, it's now stated that you just need to test at the rated residual current of the device on AC mode only. So, of course, in theory, you don't need those. Those things still exist. They're just in one of the other standards. In terms of the tables with the graphs and things, again, not really anything changed there. They are marked up as changed, but in terms of what they are, pretty much the same as they always were. Appendix 4, which is the current carrying capacity and voltage drop for cables. Again, nothing really changed in here. It's pretty much all the same as it was before. And that includes all the things for the various copper, aluminium conductors, various sizes, and so on. So again, nothing really to look at there. And the same goes for number 5, classification of external influences. Again, pretty much all the same kind of stuff in there. No real changes of much in the way of significance. One of the only things here is that BA3, which now says disabled, previously used to say handicapped, so it's just changing a word there. In terms of the rest of it, though, pretty much the same. That's the only mark there that's changed, so just changing of the word there. Now, Appendix 6, the model forms, we've already covered in the Part 6 video, so I'm not going to obviously do that here again because we've done it before, so just see the Part 6 video for that. Now, Appendix 7 has been deleted, as we saw at the beginning. That's was harmonized cable core colors, and that was various descriptions of colors you can use in various types of cables which have been used, some old, some new, and various others. That has gone away. We've still got that table further back in the actual thing there with the colours for DC and AC circuits, so that's one of the things which was in here, so that's elsewhere now. And the rest of what was in here was basically describing various colours of cables, such as the old red, yellow, blue and black, which changed to brown, black, grey and blue, and various things along those lines. So all of that is fairly old and sort of historic stuff, so it does not exist in here anymore. Appendix 8, current carrying capacity and voltage drop for bus bar trunking and power track. No real changes here, so nothing really to see. Appendix 9, definitions of multiple source DT and other systems. Again, nothing really has changed here either, so just moving on. Another one here, just these are minor, couple of items changed there. Basically it says BS7671 instead of this standard, so again I've seen that throughout the rest of the book. Now again, Appendix 10, conductors in parallel, nothing has really changed here either, so moving on. Appendix 11, this is a new one because this didn't exist previously, so warning and user instruction labels. And as we saw previously in the part 5, Regulation 51492 specifies its harmonised standards for use with user instructions and warning signs. The approach permits more flexibility in sizing of appropriate labels for particular circumstances than previous editions of BS7671, whilst accounting for an inclusive range of visual clarity and legibility. So the point of this appendix is to give you information on the size and description of how these various signs, labels and whatever else should be made, and things like what colours should use and the size of text and so on. That should be this, shouldn't it? This approach should be, yes. Anyway, that's just another blunder to deal with later. And as an example of this, we've got here some minimum label text and symbol sizes. Now, of course, you can just go and buy the appropriate standards here, such as the one referred to here. They're quite expensive, so they've put it in here to avoid having to buy that. So this is really the first time that the sort of standard warning labels and things have been defined here. So we've now got actual height of, say, graphical symbols and signs, and the size of text to be used, and also the colour. So it's recommending for dark on light background it should be either black on white or black on yellow, and you can also use white on various other colours in those circumstances. And again, we're not going to look at the whole lot of this, but just an example here, here's the periodic inspection and testing label, and this gives you an example of this. So for general use, font size 14 point, and there's the text, which we're all obviously familiar with, and it's suggesting here that the text should be black, and then the background should be white or yellow. So if you happen to use other colours, then we're looking at getting those changed to either white or yellow. And then it also gives you one for a smaller version with a smaller font size, and again that black text on a white or yellow background. And then top of the next page, just another example here of the another possible warning notice, and again it's giving you some colours to be used, so black text, yellow background, green earth symbol and a red cross, and again size of the text 14 point, optional symbol if you would want that. And the main takeaway from that is the actual sizes, colours and things like that are now specified, rather than just sort of make it the size of what's printed on this page and pick any colour you like out of whatever book you've got. Now 12 isn't used and never was. 13 is a new one. This is escape routes and fire protection. Previously 13 did exist, but it was for something entirely unrelated, which was about measuring the insulation resistance of floors and walls, which is a very unusual thing, which is very rarely done. This all fits in with previous things we've seen in other videos about not installing plastic mini trunking or PVC insulated cables in escape routes and similar locations. Now this is only a page and a half, but it is an important one, and it really defines and describes what we're talking about by means of escape. And as it says here, means of escape in a building is the provisions by which safe escape to a place of safety is provided. Often in particularly smaller and simple buildings, this can be achieved simply by limiting the distance which has to be travelled to an exit from any place in the building. So if you say had a small shop with just a single space in it, just having doors at the front and the back would be plenty adequate for that. However, in larger and more complex buildings, this is generally not possible and longer distances have to be travelled. It is then necessary to protect escapees during the longer period of travel. And then this is where you may have, say, a block of flats or an office block or something, where you're going to have to go along corridors to get to a stairway and this type of thing. And protected escape routes, as defined, are composed of one or more of the following. So a protected lobby, protected corridor, and a protected stairway. Now these protected routes afford a safe passage through the building to an exit leading to a place of safety, usually the open air, as in outside. Now we saw previously that in 42221, things like cables in the route should be limited to those related to lighting, emergency lighting and fire detection systems. Other alarm systems might be needed, but really the point here is you don't want to be installing just general purpose cabling in, say, an escape route. And of course, socket outlets are permitted, provided that the structure's fire resistance is not compromised. And again, you may need to install things like fire resisting pads and things in those. And as we saw previously, putting in things like plastic mini trunking, say in a stairway or something, is really not an appropriate choice, because that gives off huge amounts of black toxic smoke and gases when a fire occurs, or even when they get relatively hot. So it's really just thinking about what you're going to be putting in there. And the next part there about fire sealing, so you're going to be putting holes through the walls and whatever else. You need to consider what effect that's going to have. And so where a wiring system passes through a building element that has specific fire resisting properties, the ability of the element to resist the spread of fire will in all likelihood have been compromised. And then if you are going to be putting holes through, those need to be appropriately sealed with appropriate materials so that the performance of that wall or ceiling or whatever else is maintained. And it says the guidance on sealing arrangement should be obtained from a competent person or authority at the design stage. So if you're going to go to, say, a large block of flats and start installing cables and things, or even pipes or anything else for that matter, then before you even starting the work, it should have been designed in of how you're going to be making holes, where they're going to be put, what you're going to be doing with them afterwards, and what method you're going to use to seal them, and the types of materials and all of the other stuff. Certainly not a case of going in there just randomly drilling holes and then saying, oh well, there's some holes now, because of course if a fire occurs, fire and smoke and things can go through those holes, spread to other parts of the building far more rapidly than was intended, leads to all kinds of problems. Now the following appendices haven't actually changed, so that's things with the ring circuit layouts and energy efficiency and so on. Those are all the same as they were in the previous book, so we'll be looking at those. And that does bring us to the end of the book here. So that is it for this particular video. So until next time, thanks for watching.